Do you struggle with chronic fatigue, brain fog, or even chemical sensitivities? So did Jeremy. For years, these symptoms controlled his life, making it nearly impossible to work, socialize, or even step outside without fear of a massive reaction. But everything changed when Jeremy found Reorigin. Through neuroplasticity and brain retraining, Jeremy was able to rewire his brain's response to his symptoms and start reclaiming his life. Now he's back to hiking, working, and living without being controlled by his symptoms. I sat down with Jeremy to talk all about his journey with Reorigin. This is his story.
When I first started with the momentum groups, as you know, like small wins are a big thing, you know? You look back at I look up back on my old small wins and I'm like, these are just daily things now, you know what I mean? So it's like you almost start losing track. So it's kind of hard to even say. I will say, I just drove up to Sacramento from Los Angeles to take a job interview, which could be a completely massive life change for me. And there's not a chance I could have done this a year ago.
Hey everybody, we have Jeremy here. Jeremy is a current Reorigin member. He's going to share with us a little bit about his story. Thank you so much for Jeremy for being here. We really appreciate it. Are you ready to jump in?
Let's do this.
Awesome. All right. I already shared your first name, but if you want to share, just basically kind of like give us the rundown of the conditions that you suffered from and how long have you been struggling?
Yeah, like she said, my name is Jeremy. I live in the Los Angeles area. I'm a music producer / videographer. I feel like I've been dealing with symptoms longer than 8 years. I was maybe masking them, and I would go to the doctors and all of my tests would come back squeaky clean. So I was like, oh, there's just nothing wrong with me until the levee broke in 2016. So I've been dealing with, chronic symptoms for about 8 or 9 years, right? So far, everything from, it's shifted a lot over the last 8 years. So chronic anxiety, bouts of depression, insomnia to where, I wouldn't sleep for 3 to 5 days at a time until my body would finally crash because I was so tired and wired. Ringing in my ears, chronic pain in my neck and in my head and in my face. Depersonalization, derealization. I've had fatigue issues. I have even had like allergic reactions to certain foods, or like my face would swell up. So yeah, kind of been through the gamut over the last 8 or 9 years, and it's been quite a journey to say the least. So
yeah, your body has definitely been through it. Can you tell us a little bit of what your life was like before you got sick? What activities did you partake in? Like, how did you show up in the world? What was a typical day for Jeremy like?
always working on music, film projects. I'm a huge outdoors guy, so always climbing a mountain or doing something adventurous. Hanging with friends, family. I don't want to say I am the life of the party, but like I'm kind of that outgoing guy, who's definitely extroverted with a little bit of introverted mix as well. And yeah, just a creative, somebody who is I love just being vulnerable, authenticity. And yeah, I guess adventurous and creative would be the 2 words that would describe me.
Awesome. Love it. And then how have your conditions affected your quality of life? Take a couple minutes. What have been your limitations, emotional, physical state, work, relationships?
Yeah, I mean, relationships have suffered, not necessarily with like my friends or family. Nobody really understood, what I was going through, but they always kind of had my back, which I'm super thankful for. But when you're dealing with conditions like this, your world tends to shrink. So certain things were starting to trigger my symptoms, such as hiking in mountains or, playing golf or even hanging out with friends. I would say that maybe at my worst, I had to move back home and be with my parents for 4 or 5 months because I was having a tough time even just grasping reality. Um, and slowly but surely, it's been a grind to get back here. But yeah, I mean, I mean, I've lost out on some really good relationships, romantically. And yeah, I mean, I stopped golfing. I stopped, making music, stopped putting out records, stopped pretty much everything because I was just trying to survive each day. It wasn't even really an option. I was in survival mode. So yeah, it affected things dramatically.
That is very, very relatable for myself,
Yeah.
and I'm sure for a lot of people who are listening to this. Um, so tell us a little bit about like what are all the things that you tried before finding Reorigin, and how much money did you spend? How long were you trying? You don't have to tell us who or anything like that, but like what other types of modalities did you do before coming to Reorigin?
I mean, it's a list. I took inventory, and it's around 30 different modalities that I tried. Um, I never really took my health that seriously. I mean, I always worked out, and I thought like, oh, I'm working out and I'm hiking, so I'm healthy. But like, there's so much more that goes into this, obviously, from an internal standpoint. But when the levee broke for me, I had a panic attack back in 2016 at a restaurant I was working at, and everything just kind of hit the fan. I didn't know really what was happening. I was kind of in freak out mode. So, I went to the doctors and they said, your tests are all fine. Here's some medication. And I tried them for like maybe a week or two, and I was starting to feel off. And I was like, I'm not going to, so I kind of, I'm going to figure this out without medication. I haven't been living like this my whole life. So I know there's something going on here. So I dove into therapy because I'd recently just gone through a breakup. So I was like, maybe this is an emotional issue, which, that is actually part of what was going on. But I did like 3 or 4 months there, noticed wasn't really getting any results. Um, Picked up a naturopathic doctor. Then I did acupuncture, um, energy work, upper cervical chiropractic for 3 or 4 years, which I got a lot of good results. And then everything came storming back like tenfold, and I freaked out again. And then I was doing gut health tests, brain scans, um, I mean, every herb you can think of, every diet you can think of. I did lens neurofeedback.
Mm.
And then finally I stumbled across somebody on YouTube, and I had a meeting with him, and I was kind of explaining all of, my symptoms and what I was dealing with. And he was kind of smiling, kind of laughing at me. I'm like, what's so funny here, man? Like, I'm like literally, I'm like having a tough time surviving a day here.
Yeah.
And he said, I hear from people like you all the time. He's like, and you don't have all of these different issues. Like, you have one issue. He essentially said, like, if you think of your body as like a computer, he said, right now, you're chasing down your symptoms. You're trying to fix the disk drive. You're trying to fix the AC unit, like whatever. He said, you need to go upstream and update your software, which he was talking about brain retraining. So this kind of introduced me to the world of the limbic system and limbic system retraining. And this was like a huge light bulb moment for me on this health journey. So those are some of the modalities. I mean, I'm leaving some out as well, but it's been quite a few.
Yeah. If you could make an estimation, how much money do you think you've spent over the years?
Easily like $25,000.
And then we know how you found out about, we know how you found about brain retraining. How did you find out about Reorigin? And when you found out, like, how did you initially feel? Were you hesitant at all? Was there resistance to it?
I found out about Reorigin through Dr. Google, and
Love him.
like most people. And I actually scheduled a consultation, I think, with Ben. But my anxiety was so bad at the time, and like I chickened out on the meeting. And I ended up going with another program, a couple different programs, and they were teaching something. Have you heard of a author named Dr. Claire Weeks? She has a book called Hope and Help for Your Nerves. I think she was an Australian doctor. She wrote this book back in like the 40s or 50s, but it was essentially teaching brain retraining, but not without the science behind it. It was really teaching you how to like float through your symptoms and how to really be the observer and teach your brain that, anxiety, panic attacks, stuff like that are okay. And it's a process, and it's really hard to do. So I got turned on to this book and this program, and I did that for a while. So like when I came into the Reorigin program, I had a really good background on the limbic system and floating through my symptoms. So that being said, though, it was January 1st of 2024. And I got back into a rough spot where I wasn't sleeping again for like 3 to 5 days. I was having a tough time surviving. I just lost another relationship because of this. And I told the guy I was working with, I said, hey man, I gotta just try something new. I mean, there's gotta be something out there to where I can be like proactive. Cause the only thing I was being proactive on was responding properly to my symptoms. But I needed something that I can like proactively do, which was the brain retraining. And that has been like the biggest game changer for me, entering the Reorigin program. So
Nice. So it doesn't really sound like you were very hesitant. It sounded like you were kind of like, I just need something new and I need to, yeah.
yeah, it's like we always say, I was kind of getting to last resorts here. I'd been trying everything and I'd get certain results, but I kind of always ended up back at square one, and it was just the most frustrating thing. So it was a little bit out of desperation, but yeah, I mean, I was willing to jump at that point right in and just I'm like, what are these momentum groups? Who is this Katie person? Who's Natalie? I'm like, I don't even care. I'm ready for a fresh environment. I'm ready just to do something and I just needed hope. When you're at that point and you've been trying things for so long, you're just looking for just like an inkling of hope. And that's what the Reorigin program, provided for me.
So walk us through your experience when you first started. Like, what did you like about it? I know you said it's more proactive. Anything else that you liked? What kept you? You've been in Reorigin a little over a year. What's kept you going?
It's funny because a lot of these people you meet teaching this stuff like online, they're kind of just doing things out of their bedroom and you're talking to people, and so like Reorigin almost felt like too professional. It was like everything was like laid out so nice and the videos were just shot so professionally. And I hopped on a few calls with Natalie and, she reassured me that I'm in the right place. So like going through the videos was really a simple process. I didn't take the full 28 days. I'm sure a lot of people do this. I was too anxious to like learn and like, I'm like, I need to soak in this information. So I think I went through the 28 days of videos in maybe like a week or something. I was doing like 4 videos a day. And then like repeating the videos again. And, with the package that I bought, I had the momentum groups and then I was like instantly jumped in with you.
You were pretty gung ho. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Momentum Group. What was your favorite part? If you've done it multiple times, like what kept you coming back to the group aspect of Reorigin?
Yeah, I just started my 4th momentum group. I would encourage anybody who's sitting on the fence to getting into Reorigin or thinking about momentum groups, just jump right in because you feel so isolated. Like I can talk to my friends, family, I could talk to whoever about what I was going through, but they have no clue. They can be empathetic, but they don't know what it is. So it's good to be around people who are kind of dealing with maybe not your same exact symptoms, but they're all dealing with a similar scenario and they've all been on a life path for so long. So the momentum groups are incredible. I mean, they keep you on track. They kept me accountable, showing up for not only myself, but showing up for the group and showing up for you. And, just you learn something every week and then you have, little tidbits of homework, nothing too strenuous or anything, but just enough to keep you on track and keep you conscious of, the track that you're on.
Awesome.
Because I know it's really easy for a lot of people just to fall off and like, oh, this isn't working, but if you just stay consistent with it, you will get results. It's not an overnight thing. Healing is obviously not linear. It's, 2 steps forward and sometimes 3 steps back. But, if you respond properly to your symptoms and you do the daily brain retraining, you will see results. So
Love it. Thanks. So okay, now walk us through. You've been in Reorigin about a year. Can you just kind of describe what your life is like now? What would you say has been your biggest win and what's different now from pre-Reorigin?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when I first started with the momentum groups, as you know, like small wins are a big thing, you look back at I look back at my old small wins and I'm like, these are just daily things now. You know what I mean? So it's like, you almost start losing track. So it's kind of hard to even say. I will say, I just drove up to Sacramento from Los Angeles to take a job interview, which could be a completely massive life change for me. And there's not a chance I could have done this a year ago. So I was talking to my parents. They're like, hey, I know you're still dealing with symptoms and, you're not exactly where you want to be. But there's no way you could have done this a year ago. And I'm like, I know. So the consistency and, just showing up with the groups and whatnot is totally paid off. I'm definitely back to hiking. I'm not the avid golfer I want to be yet, but like, I'm still hitting balls and, playing with my buds. And my social life is back, like, completely. I'm not like hiding or scared to take calls. I would say, at my worst, I couldn't even go on Amazon and order something. Like, that was too stressful for my nervous system. Just to give you, so to be doing all of this now is just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a true testament on, this stuff does work. So
Absolutely. And like you said, that a lot of this stuff, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it has just become the norm for you again, right? Like, that's a
100%.
big deal that we can assimilate those things again back into our lives. So that's huge.
I mean, even in the momentum groups, when you bring up like, oh, who's got a daily win? I'm like, I don't know. Everything just, doesn't feel normal, but like, compared to where I was, like, I'm living again, so. Yeah, so.
Love that. What would you say about the program has helped you the most? Anything significant?
I think for this condition, for how long I've been on it, I think just doing the daily steps of the self-directed neuroplasticity, like building those new neural pathways, teaching myself that emotions are okay and learning how to deal with emotions, even dealing with the symptoms and dealing with other people's, relationships with other people, learning. I mean, there's just so many tools that you could take from this program and apply to regular life. This isn't just for, I think, people dealing with, these kind of conditions. I think really anybody in America could probably use brain retraining, to be honest. But yeah, there's just so many tools that, honestly, too many to even, I can't even
List them all. Awesome. And then how about emotional, mental state, compared to where you were before depersonalization, derealization, anxiety, depression? Where's your emotional and mental state at now?
I mean, so with my symptoms, I do have like a lot of, stress in my head and stuff like that. That's just my personal journey. But my anxiety is completely gone. Like, I would say 98% gone, and do I feel sadness and like intense emotions because we are dealing with the limbic system? Yes, I do ride a bit of a roller coaster when I'm having flare-ups and whatnot. But like, nothing like, yeah. The anxiety is essentially all gone. The depersonalization, the depression I was dealing with is all gone. It's funny when my symptoms are heightened, my ear will start ringing. So it's like a little, my own little alarm. It's like, oh, okay. Like, so, but yeah, emotionally, I'm definitely more stable. So.
And I like what you mentioned about the like riding the waves of the emotions, because what you were mentioning before, the depersonalization, the derealization, that's our nervous system's way of thinking it's keeping us safe by like pulling us back from being able to feel at all. And so sometimes it can feel like a bad thing that we're feeling emotions, but that's a good thing. That means you're human, right? That means you're
Yes.
human. That means your nervous system feels safe enough to feel those things. So that's huge.
We've talked about this before, but like, it's just, we're not given these tools, we're learning about whatever in school. And like, especially if there's a time in history where we need to learn how to process our emotions, this would be a good time to start teaching tools like this, but unfortunately we're just not given this. So
Yeah. You have it now. Thank goodness
yes,
for all of us that
really,
have it now.
I am a pro. Yes.
Okay, so what would you say to someone who is struggling with a chronic illness and just they're starting to think about joining Reorigin? They haven't made the leap yet, but they're considering it. What would you say to them?
I've just tried so many different modalities that, because when you're desperate for answers, you almost start making up a narrative. You'll like maybe see something on Dr. Google or somebody will give you a diagnosis and you start like, okay, this is it. This is it. And it was really hard to cut ties from certain things that I thought were causing all these symptoms in me. So it took a little while to jump from some of these narratives that I had created, and you said, I'm going to go all in. This is a limbic system issue, and I feel like once you do, I would just say you can ride the fence for a while, but I would say if you start getting results and you start noticing things change, I would say just go all in. I'm not saying people aren't dealing with other things as well. But for me personally, the moment I said, you know what, I'm going to go all in on this limbic system retraining, that's when I noticed I started having massive leaps. And I'd also just say, like, just be kind to yourself. This isn't your fault. This is just where you ended up. Like, it's just meet yourself with grace, which is really hard to do. I feel like all of us are kind of doers and go-getters and perfectionists, and type A personalities kind of get us into this mess, but just really try to meet yourself with grace. So
Love that. Yeah. And then how would you explain reorigin to someone who has never heard of it before? Or how do you explain it to your friends and family?
The easiest way I explain it to people is we're all born with a fire alarm in our brain, and I say, if a tiger walks into a room, I give this example, I'm like, you're not thinking to yourself, whoa, I need to jump out of this room. It's just, this thing kicks in, your fight or flight. Well, that's your limbic system. That's your alarm system letting you know that there's something going wrong. Now, with some people, this fire alarm can get tripped up and it can start detecting everything as a potential threat and firing off various symptoms in various people. This program is essentially just retraining the fire alarm in our bodies that we're all born with. Yours just happens to be working yours is a little bit more calibrated than mine is right now. And I'm trying to get mine recalibrated. So that's how I explain it to people. I'm not sure if that even hits with them or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it hits with me, so hopefully it does, but we just our fire alarms are overachievers, and we just need to tell our fire alarms, like, "Yo, it's okay to be a C student. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't
Yeah,
worry about it."
exactly.
That's great. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience, or if you have a hopeful message for someone who's just starting Reorigin? Anything else you'd like to share?
I would just say commit, just commit, give yourself, I would say, a minimum 3 to 6 months. And if you can get to a place where you can go all in with it, do so. And I would say if anybody's just joining Reorigin and just learning about limbic system retraining, it can, feel like a bit of a leap, but you may have to take a leap and just go all in. And I would get into the momentum groups immediately and just surround yourself with like-minded people who are going through stuff again that you're going through, because I don't want to say this is rare. It's probably becoming more popular, but not a lot of people have heard of this yet, so just get around people, get around awesome, teachers like Katie or Natalie or Cameron, and just hold yourself accountable and just see where you're at 3 to 6 months. And if nothing has changed, then okay. But I say go for it. I mean, I'm here a year later. I still have a little ways to go, but I would definitely say I pulled a 180 from where I was at a year ago. So anybody can do it is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Jeremy, for sharing your story with me, and for everybody else. We really appreciate it. And here's for more hope for healing with brain retraining.
Awesome. Thanks.
Jeremy's story is living proof that healing is possible, even when it feels out of reach. With Reorigin, he doesn't just manage his symptoms, he is rewiring his brain for lasting change and healing. If you're ready to get started taking control of your health, make sure to watch our next video on limbic system retraining exercises, the very tools that helped Jeremy heal. What are you waiting for? Get started.